Hello and welcome to Lesson 1 of C.1, the Polar Ice Unit. I'm Meijin Chia, a high school teacher using OpenSciEd and an OpenSciEd facilitator. Since this is the first lesson for the unit, students are introduced to a puzzling phenomenon. I have found that students are usually excited to share their initial ideas to explain this phenomenon, but quickly realize there are many gaps in their explanation once I press for evidence or reasoning. Let's take a look at Lesson 1 at a high level. As the first lesson of the unit, this lesson goes through the elements of the anchoring phenomenon routine over three 45-minute days. You'll need about 30 minutes of material preparation for this lesson. There is no hands-on investigation, and students would only need to use their individual devices if you would like them to explore the videos and/or NASA sea level projection tool by themselves. The related videos listed here are the videos that introduce the puzzling phenomenon to students. There are 3 lesson chunks in this lesson. Let's see what's happening in each lesson chunk. In the first lesson chunk, students are introduced to a phenomenon affecting different communities. They figure out that sea level rise affects communities all around the world. So students wonder what large-scale cause could explain this global phenomenon. In the second lesson chunk, students think about water level changes they have experienced or observed in their daily lives and start to think about matter changes and flows. As they develop the initial model to explain sea level rise, they consider how matter and energy is flowing into, out of, and/or within systems. They wonder whether melting polar ice, more precipitation, or even other competing ideas would cause sea level rise. In the third lesson chunk, after developing the driving question board and generating ideas for investigations, students conclude that we need data about how and why matter and energy is changing or flowing within Earth's systems to figure out why and how sea level is rising. So in summary, in lesson 1, students conclude that sea levels are rising. There must be a large-scale cause for this global phenomenon, such as polar ice melt due to climate change. Sea level rise have significant impacts on the human population, including forcing some coastal populations to have to move. We will use ideas about energy and matter to mechanistically explain sea level rise. Let's take a look at the key moments in lesson 1. Students watch videos about 3 communities in different parts of the world that are experiencing challenges related to sea level rise. They share their noticings and wonderings, including similarities and differences between the 3 videos, such as how the communities are responding to sea level rise. They identify some local issues like storms and erosion that amplify the challenges these communities face. They also predict whether other coastal communities may be experiencing sea level changes. In part 2, the learning activity prepares students to analyze more complicated graphs in future lessons, such as lesson 2. In this lesson, we need to guide students to focus on identifying simple patterns from the graph, particularly as related to the rate of change of the data. I found it useful to print this graph and the prompts as a handout for students so they work with a partner to annotate the graph before a brief whole class discussion. The QR code listed here on the slide brings you to this modified handout that I took from slide F. In part 6, to help students be more mindfully engaged when they develop their initial model, you can prepare them by first drawing out students' ideas about matter and energy, how matter and energy interacts, and how students would represent matter and energy at the particle level. Some students would quickly exclaim global warming is causing sea level rise. Encourage them to consider, for example, how they will represent global warming. What matter actually warms up and how? Where is energy to warm the matter coming from? Why and how is global warming happening today? Did global warming happen in the past? This would help them consider more deeply what might be happening in this phenomenon. When developing the class initial consensus model, it is important to highlight competing ideas and ask students to debate their evidence and reasoning. That's why initial consensus models should be peppered with loads of question marks. Instead of guiding them towards the accurate explanation, it is more productive at this point in the unit to ensure all competing ideas that students will resolve in this unit is raised as questions to figure it out. Now, students' questions are vital to drive their thinking forward. To ensure sufficient stewing time, I have each student generate at least 2 questions. First, on their own. They use small individual whiteboards instead of sticky notes. To scaffold question generation, students are encouraged to look back at the artifacts from earlier in their lessons, such as the initial consensus model and the notice and wonder chart. When building the driving question board, they are required to listen attentively, as they are not allowed to repeat the same question, but they can add or modify a question that was already shared. They have to share how their question is related to the question that came before. I have included on this slide the driving question board from one of my classes. In the next part, students come up with ideas of how to gather data or evidence to answer their questions. So, for example, could we design an investigation to run in the classroom? Or perhaps we need to do some research and gather data from what people have already studied. I included on this slide one of the ideas for investigations data we need poster from my class. So basically, at the end of lesson 1 and navigating into lesson 2, we realize we have lots of questions, especially about global warming. What causes global warming? If global warming happened in the past, did sea level rise also happen then? And what did humans do? Okay, let me share a couple of strategies for this lesson. I modified the format of the initial model handout because I noticed that students found it easier to have both macroscopic and particle level zoom-ins combined into one diagram. It was also clearer to students when all the prompts were listed as bullet points under question 3. If you would like to grab this modified handout format, go ahead and use the QR code posted here. Since I have 5 sections of classes and limited wall space, I utilize digital versions of the driving question board and ideas for investigation posters. Each class section has their own posters, which students access through Google Classroom. For the ideas for investigation poster, each table group of 3 to 4 students fills out one digital sticky note. If you would like the template that I use as class posters, please go ahead and check out the QR code posted on this slide. In part 4 of this lesson, students co-construct the terminology to describe people displaced by climate change. Throughout the lesson, they encountered these terms: consensus, glacier, energy, matter, model, and system. The notice and wonder chart is created and referenced during this lesson, but not in further lessons. The other posters or charts, such as the community agreements, initial consensus model, and driving question board, will be referenced in future lessons and should be saved. Well, this is lesson 1 in a nutshell. Students tend to start out thinking they know the answer to the phenomenon, but usually end lesson 1 with the realization that there's so much to uncover. I hope you find this helpful and join us again for lesson 2, where students start to make connections between changes in sea level and global temperature and why global temperatures change using evidence from articles and data. Thank you.